Hello everybody and welcome back for some weekly VR news. As always, I am Meteora and this is your channel for everything VR related. So what started off looking like it was going to be a slow news week actually turned out to be a pretty big deal. There's major updates to the Quest 2 and Quest 3, but unfortunately they also experienced a major outage that we're going to have to discuss, what it means for the safety of your games and the digital world we now live in. Additionally, PlayStation VR 2 has some cool games coming up in the near future. There's a few releases that look really good this week and a bunch of additional announcements. So let's not waste any more time and jump right into this. But before we get in, today's video is brought to you by the release of Swarm 2. The fast-paced grappling hook shooter, usually described as Spider-Man with guns, is back, bringing that same extreme challenge and bullet hell style gameplay, but now they've added 45 brand new levels, new weapons, enemies, bosses, and a full progression system. So if you enjoyed the original game and you're looking for more, or you're just looking for a unique new shooter, I highly recommend you go check out Swarm 2. There's a link down in the description, so go ahead and click it after this video concludes. Okay, so let's start things off like normal with the check-in, and that's what exactly have I been up to in the VR world. So lately, I'm just trying to experiment the channel, do things a little bit differently. Sometimes maybe we'll stumble upon a type of video that my viewers love watching and I also truly enjoy making. Last week, I did a 60-minute conversation with GT. I thought it was great. If you haven't seen it, I'll put a link up. You guys could click that, check it out. I think it was highly entertaining to see how people who frequently have very different opinions on games can just like sit there, discuss them, and understand one another's point of view. So I thought it was a great conversation. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, let me know in the comments if you checked it out. I'd love to hear from you guys. Now, on that subject, 80% of the people who watch this channel are not subscribed. So do me a favor and subscribe if you enjoy what you're watching. And the last thing I'll mention in the check-in is I'm currently working on a review of Paint the Town Red. I know a lot of you guys are looking forward to that. So that'll be dropping later this week. But for now, let's move into this week's new releases, starting with Little Cities Bigger. This is the same Little Cities that previously released for the Meta Quest, but now it's making its way onto the PlayStation VR 2 with the game's added DLC and additional enhancements. As expected, the graphics will get a nice boost, and the PlayStation community can finally chill out in this delightful world builder. This isn't my go-to style of game, but I absolutely love the experience, as you can just sit back, relax, and chill, and get a nice little dose of instant gratification. Now, if you're looking for more of a challenge, Humanity is making its way onto the Meta Quest, and this is a truly unique Lemon-style puzzler where you need to guide a horde of people to safety who are blindly marching forward. Things will start simply as your shepherd dog will guide them in the proper direction, but as time goes on, you'll gain more and more abilities and face much harder challenges that will quickly go sideways. This was another gaming experience that isn't exactly my style, but I loved it when it dropped on the PlayStation VR 2, so I'm definitely happy more people will get to experience this soon. Now, if you're just looking for some adrenaline-filled action, we're getting Paint the Town Red. This is a port of a beloved flat-screen title where you're murdering countless blocky enemies by beating the pixels out of them. It's definitely a unique, blood-filled experience, and we'll just have to wait and see how well this translates into the VR world. I'm going in expecting lots of mindless fun, but I'll have more information later this week when I drop my video. And last up in the new releases, a classic PCVR title similar to Minecraft is making its way to the PlayStation VR 2. Cyube VR drops you into a procedurally generated world where you get to explore, gather resources, and basically craft anything you could dream of. Now, we can't deny the fact that the art style is reminiscent of Minecraft, but this game was built from the ground up for VR and utilizes unique physical interactions. This game has continuously received updates for 6 years now, and if you're looking for an open world crafting experience in VR, I highly recommend you check out Cyube VR. And that was all of this week's new releases. It's a pretty good looking lineup. It's not your typical just, zombie shooter or something like that. So I'm glad to see unique titles coming to VR. Now, before we get to new game announcements, I just want to go over 3 quick VR game updates. The first one, if you've been interested in Thief Simulator, well, now they have a free demo version you can check out on App Lab, which is Thief Simulator Prologue. So if you had any interest, go check that out. I'm really sad to have to point these out, but unfortunately, Penguin Paradise and Toy Machines, I know you guys were just desperately waiting for these games to release. Well, they've been delayed. Okay, I'll stop being a jerk now. Now, in new announcements, the mental health application Headspace is making its way onto the Meta Quest. Headspace should help you relax, unwind, become more mindful, and maybe even make some friends online. This is a unique escape that I think we can all benefit from, and I hope this application succeeds on what it sets out to do. As a content creator, I know all about being burnt out, and everyone needs to take a few extra moments for themselves. Now, another experience that I'm looking forward to trying is the Faceless Lady. This is a 6-episode live-action 3D series that's premiering in Horizon Worlds. Now, I personally love and have been begging for more VR series. The experience is usually much more immersive than your typical TV show, and I'm really curious to see just how well the Faceless Lady does. I'll be checking it out on April 4th when it releases, but I'm really curious about how my community feels about this type of content. Are you interested in watching 3D series in VR? Please let me know down in the comments. Now, we also got a new gameplay video of a unique experience coming to the PlayStation VR 2. Meteora has you fighting for survival in a young and chaotic universe. But in truth, this is an arcade combat racer in disguise. Take on the role of a meteor flying through space that needs to avoid large collisions, but will freely blast through smaller ones. This almost reminds me a bit of Thumper, where a spectacle of lights and special effects is going on in the background, while you're trying to keep your focus locked onto the race ahead of you. I'm definitely interested in trying this one out, and I'll give you more information when it becomes available. Now, I have one more quick update before we get to today's main topic, and this is the fact that Sidequest is now even easier to install on your MetaQuest device. You basically just go to their website, plug in your Quest to your PC, and you can install it directly from there. No need to download software directly onto your PC. Now, you still need developer mode, you still need to have a cable and plug it into your PC, but it's even easier than it was before, so that's just better. Any less friction is just better and better. If you're not familiar with Sidequest, it's a third-party app store. It's not full of junk. It's full of a lot of titles that just probably can't get onto the Meta store just yet, or they're still in development and they want people to test them out. That's usually the majority of the games out there. So if you haven't tried Sidequest, I highly recommend you check it out. You could usually get early access to a lot of games that end up officially releasing. It's just a really cool experience. I highly recommend it. But let's get to today's main topic. Okay, so do you guys want the good news or the bad news? I'd rather give you guys the good news first, butter you up a little bit, so we could soften the blow of the bad news. In good news, the Quest now has some really awesome updates. For starters, there's a laying down mode, something I've wanted for a long time. You couldn't use your Quest in a lying position. Now you can. Awesome. Took forever, but I don't use it often, but I've wanted it in the past. So moving on to updates that I think are even better. They come for the Airlink application. So now not only do we have 120 hertz mode, something that, I think is pretty much essential, especially when you have a powerful PC, but even better than that is they've somehow managed to increase the battery life when using Airlink up to 50%. So if you're using your Quest specifically for PCVR, you should be able to game a lot longer, which is just freaking awesome. So kudos there. That's awesome updates from Meta, but now we got to talk about where Meta really screwed up. So last week, you probably noticed that for almost an entire day, you couldn't use your Quest. And that's because some of their servers were down, and that bricked the entire Quest, which I will say outright is 100% unacceptable. Now, I know we live in a digital world and a lot of things are tied to online access, which I will get into in a second, but this device has a lot of offline capability, so it should not die because Meta servers are down. And what makes this even worse is this issue actually happened years ago for the Quest 2. Online servers went down and Quest basically broke. And this was back when John Carmack was still at Meta, and he actually said, well, this is terrible, obviously. However, it was a great fire drill because now I got to tell the teams, I want you to dial in, find every single online service that connects back to the Quest, and we need to cut those strings in case this happens. We need to not have the Quest fail and die if our online servers die. Well, guess what? They didn't fix all of that. So the fire drill might have helped a little bit, but no, it didn't solve all the problems. And like I said, this is unacceptable. Now, moving on, I really hope they resolve this. This should not happen again. My personal experience, I really wasn't impacted. The night before, I left my Quest playing Asgard's Wrath 2. So the next day when I picked it up and put it on, I was able to keep playing the game. However, my menu just wouldn't open. And I was just like, oh, that's weird. My menu won't open. Whatever. I kept playing. I shut the game off later. Then my menu wouldn't pop up. I restarted the headset. It asked me to log back in. I did, and I was fine. But this was mid-afternoon. So I pretty much missed the entire outage. It didn't impact me, but I was in a unique situation. I left the game running. I'm sure most people that wasn't the case and they were pretty frustrated. I know that feeling because I have very limited free time. And when I try to get in something, if it's broken because of online server stuff, it's ridiculous and I'm pissed. So I'm with you guys there. Meta has to resolve this. Now, to slightly defend Meta, this is kind of common in the digital age we live in. When Xbox 360 first came out, they were trying to push online always to prevent privacy. Obviously, it was a big pushback. We were not ready for online always back in the 360 days, so people were pissed, and eventually they removed that need. There were games that launched, like anything that uses de novo anti-cheat, that won't launch in most cases if you are not online, obviously. There were games from EA that launched, like the latest SimCity. You couldn't play if you were online. These are ridiculous and unacceptable. And even recently, Sony had to just destroy tons of movies that people watched. They had a licensing issue. So if you bought a bunch of movies on your PlayStation and now all of a sudden they're gone. And those are movies not you rented, movies you bought. They're gone because of a licensing issue. This is the digital age we live in now. Now, it's not acceptable, but we kind of need to understand we're like renting our games now. We shouldn't be renting our hardware, but also when you're dealing with hardware that's subsidized down to the point of like $250, yeah, there's kind of some strings attached. It sucks. It's the world we live in. We got to yell at Meta. We got to make sure they fix this. You know, obviously the headset should continue to work completely offline. End of question. So why we dealt with this, because you know you could shut your Wi-Fi off and the headset still works. So why we dealt with this, I don't know. Meta, please fix this. Cool that you're giving us some good updates, but this stuff can't fly. And that was today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. And as always, I'll see you guys on next time.